Giants select Kayvon Thibodeaux.
Let's go, Mike! Let's go, Mike! All right.
New York Giants select
Evan Neal.
Let's
go!
Welcome back, Giants fans, and as you can tell, I am thrilled with how round one of the 2022 draft went for the New York Giants, getting Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeaux. Not in that order. They went Kayvon first, then Evan Neal. But I put out a tweet about a month and a half ago saying that I would be ecstatic and it would be my dream scenario if the Giants were able to come away with Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeaux. And what do you know? Dreams do come true. How do you like that? So it came out that Schoen wanted to go with Evan Neal first, but based on how the draft board fell and how some of the picks were made before the Giants, they figured going Kayvon Thibodeaux would have been the right move at 5 because they would have been fine with Ike Ekwonu or Evan Neal falling to number 7. So great job by Schoen. He said a lot of things that you want to hear your GM say today. So you love hearing that. The Giants came away with 2 players that I think are top 5 players in this draft. So to see your team make picks like that is a great feeling. I think it went about as well as it could. And I know there are 2 more days left of the draft. There are still 6 rounds left. But based on what we saw at 5 and 7 today, I think things went very well, I must say. So looking at how the draft played out, there weren't that many surprises based on how the draft odds were looking. If you look at some of the big betting sites, I looked at DraftKings, and it wasn't really that much of a surprise. Trayvon Walker goes first, then Aiden Hutchinson 2, Derek Stingley 3, Sauce Gardner to the Jets at 4, and the Giants are sitting there at 5, and you're like, oh my God, they have their pick at any tackle they want. We still have Ike Ekwonu on the board, still have Charles Cross, still have Evan Neal. We're thinking in the back of our minds, well, it's been rumored the entire offseason that the Giants do like Charles Cross. Do they happen to take him at 5? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking at 5, they're going to take Evan Neal the entire time. Like at one point, I bought into the rumors of Charles Cross being a Giant. Then the more I thought about it, I was like, nah, Evan Neal's better. They're going to go with Evan Neal. But at number 5 overall, it's announced that Kayvon Thibodeaux was taken by the Giants, and I was kind of surprised by it. Not like it wasn't a shocker, but I was a bit surprised because Schoen had this comment about a week ago talking about how if certain guys don't fit the characteristics they want, they will take them off their board. And we know about the quote-unquote character concerns with Kayvon Thibodeaux. I personally don't buy into them. I think Kayvon, from the interviews I've seen of him, he impresses me. I think he's a smart, intelligent guy. I don't get like the same concerns other people do, but we know that certain people and other draft analysts and stuff, they have some type of concerns with Kayvon Thibodeaux. So I'm thinking, oh, well, is that kind of a shot at Kayvon? Was that a hint by Schoen that maybe Kayvon will not be on the Giants board? It was not. So Kayvon goes 5th overall to the Giants. And the way Schoen talked about it afterwards, and this was summed up in a tweet that came out from Jordan Ronan, he says, my understanding is that the Giants were about to take Neal at pick number 5 until picks 3 and 4 unfolded the way they did. Of course, you back-to-back cornerbacks going there. Schoen all but admitted they were able to wait since 3 offensive tackles were available. Thibodeaux was the pick because they saw a big drop-off at edge after Kayvon Thibodeaux. So after Kayvon was gone, you pretty much had guys like Jermaine Johnson. I'm trying to think who else was left at that point. George Karlaftis. But yeah, once Aiden Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker went 1 and 2, Kayvon Thibodeaux was like the last member of like the top 3 tier. So if you did not get Kayvon Thibodeaux and a team happened to trade up with the Panthers at 6, or the Panthers themselves took Kayvon Thibodeaux at 6, then it's like, oh crap, we just lost the guy who was in that top tier for edge rushers. And my friend that I was watching the draft with was like, hey, they should just might as well take Kayvon Thibodeaux here and just take one of the tackles that falls. And I was so in love with Evan Neal. I'm like, no, I just want to take Evan Neal. Don't chance it. Just take him here. But they did the smart thing. I'm the dumb one here. They did the smart thing. They took the guy who was the last guy in that tier at the edge position in Kayvon Thibodeaux. They take him at 5. They're like, look, if Ike Ekwonu or Evan Neal goes 6, we'll take the guy that the Panthers do not take. And the Giants were in a perfect spot. Evan Neal, of course, had some medical concerns come up in recent days. The Giants, of course, did not really think it was a big deal. I don't know what those concerns were exactly. Sometimes we hear about these random things a few days before the draft. I know Montez Sweat had that happen with him when he was taken by Washington a few years ago, and that really did not turn out to be anything that was a big deal. So I'm personally not concerned. But the fact that he fell to 7 in the first place was a bit of a surprise. I feel like, even if you go back a couple months ago, Kayvon was supposed to be a potential number 1 overall pick, and then Aiden Hutchinson, of course, was that guy. Then it was Trayvon Walker. But you look at Evan Neal, like he was supposed to be a top 3 guy as well. There were rumors about Evan Neal going first overall at one point. So the Giants, to come away with these guys at 5 and 7 and get both of them, that's amazing. And I felt really great when the Giants took Andrew Thomas. I was a big fan of his, but this draft night in particular, because probably we had 2 picks and it felt a lot better, I felt so good after the first, 2 picks were made. It was like, this is our guy. Like Joe Schoen, I just love everything about him so far, and I was not expecting to be disappointed. I had like this calmness about me. It was nice knowing that Joe Schoen's probably not going to F this thing up. And it was going to be tough to mess it up because picking at 5 and 7, I mean, you have a shot at some of the best players in the draft, of course. Now the Giants could have taken a risk and just took someone random we were not thinking of. I'm trying to think of a name here. They could have went wide receiver with like Chris Olave or something, a guy I do like, but still that might have been a reach for number 5 or 7. So to have Joe Schoen just go about this the way he did, take the guy at 5 who was the last remaining edge guy before a big drop-off happened, and have the wherewithal to take the offensive tackle that the Panthers were going to take. That's the type of GM you want to see right there. That's why I've had so many problems in the past with the way this team has been run in the draft, in the offseason. But seeing a guy like Joe Schoen, the way he was able to maneuver this thing and have a forward-thinking approach, I was a big fan of it. And even like what the media has said about these Giants picks, like you can tell people that are very well trusted and people that are held in a high regard that cover the draft are saying very good things about the Giants. Of course, the Jets, they had a good draft themselves, but the Giants are getting a lot of credit for what they did at 5 and 7. Joe Schoen had a quote on Kayvon Thibodeaux. This was tweeted out by Zach Rosenblatt, and Schoen said he's a very outgoing individual. He has a lot of personality, really good kid, likable kid, works hard. We got to know this kid more than any player in this draft. So, yeah, it seems like, the Giants did a good job of hiding it. I was never like fully bought in that they were going to take Kayvon. I think in the mock draft I did for the Giants, I had them taking Neal and Kayvon, but like I don't know, part of me was like, do they actually like Kayvon? I was second guessing myself. Evan Neal, I felt very confident they liked him. Of course, the Charles Cross stuff kind of crept in my mind because of the reports and the tweets that kept coming out about him and how the Giants love him, but that, of course, was all smoke. But just based on how Joe Schoen talks about Kayvon Thibodeaux, I kind of feel the same way. I've never met Kayvon Thibodeaux once again, but I've watched at least a couple of interviews. They were about 20 minutes each or something like that. So I have a good understanding of what Kayvon Thibodeaux is like, and I like his personality. I do. I really had no concerns whatsoever. People talked about Kayvon took off certain plays, and you go back and watch, like there was a play in his final game right before he was about to get drafted. Like if I'm in his shoes in this situation, I'm probably taking a playoff too. I think they were down by 3 or 4 scores, and it's like, why would you risk getting hurt when you're about to get the bag, like from an NFL team? Like just, I get it. You want guys to play hard every single snap. Like that's the old cliche, but like, nah, if I have $30-40 million coming my way and we're down by 3 or 4 scores in a meaningless final college game, I'll let you score the touchdown. You know what I mean? Like, I don't blame him whatsoever for making a business decision there. Now that he's in the NFL and has the money, he better try every snap, but I get why someone would pull that card in college. I get it. Looking at Kayvon as a player, to me, he's just an all-around guy. He's going to be a good edge against the run, good edge against the pass, and he has that prototypical size. He's 6'4", 256. Amazing explosiveness. That first step is as good as it gets, honestly. I think the thing he could probably work on is just having more of a pass rushing variety, I guess you can say. Like, I feel like he goes to the same couple moves every time, but like just looking at him as an athlete from that standpoint, I mean, he was able to get by just on that alone. So once this guy's actually coached up and learns new pass rushing moves and just how to attack offensive tackles on 30, 40, passing down snaps per game, he's going to come in different. So I don't know if it's going to take a year or maybe 2 years for Kayvon to reach that peak player he could be, but at some point he's going to get it. And he's been compared to guys like Myles Garrett before. There's a reason for that. We know Myles Garrett's a freak. So to have a guy with the ceiling that he does, it's great to know. And I know that Trayvon Walker is going to be the one talked about for having like the very high ceiling. He's more of like a versatile do-it-all type guy. But with Kayvon, like the Giants needed that very badly. Like that personality that Kayvon has, I think it fits this area very well. New York City, I think it fits the market very well. Some people say it may not. I think it'll be fine. You look at the Giants' edge room. We've talked about it before. After Azeez Ojulari, who I know some people think might be great one day, he might be good one day, he might be average. I'm in like that camp of like, I think Azeez Ojulari is going to be a good pro. I'm not convinced he'll be like this great future Hall of Fame type guy. So to pair him up with Kayvon Thibodeaux, who's been one of the most highly coveted prospects over the past few years, that's going to make Azeez Ojulari's life even easier. So to have those two guys on your edges for hopefully the next 5+ years at least, I mean, that's going to be a great thing for the Giants. And I do believe Joe Schoen had some nice things to say about Azeez Ojulari. Of course, he loves Kayvon Thibodeaux based on what he said about him. So to have those two guys growing together, learning to play together, that's going to be a great thing for Giants fans. Kayvon also has great bend around the edge. It's something that we talked about with Azeez Ojulari, of course, and that's what he's been known for. But with Kayvon, the way I went about watching the prospects this year, I watched Aiden Hutchinson first, and I was impressed. I was like, all right, this guy's a high floor. He's going to be a good NFL player. Then I watched Kayvon immediately after him, and I ended up liking Kayvon more. Not to say that I would have taken Kayvon over Hutchinson. I think Hutchinson's safer, so if I was a GM myself and I'm trying to save my job and not make a riskier pick, I'm probably taking Aiden Hutchinson myself. But in terms of who has the higher ceiling, who has a chance to be an actual superstar in this league, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux is as good as it gets. He really jumped out to me in kind of the same way Andrew Thomas did a few years ago, honestly. So I think as long as he puts it all together, as long as New York is not too big for him, which I don't think it will be, I think Kayvon's going to work out for this team. I'm very excited about it. The Giants needed an edge rusher badly, and they have not had a guy this talented since Jason Pierre-Paul was in his prime, which was a long time ago. So I'm excited for it. I think most Giants fans came away excited at number 5 overall. Of course, we all wanted that right tackle. We'll talk about him now, Evan Neal. We finally got that as well. Not saying the Giants' offensive line is completely fixed. We know we still have some holes at left guard and kind of center. We'll see what happens there with Feliciano, how good he is as a stopgap type guy, but at least left tackle, right tackle, we're looking pretty good right now. So Evan Neal, right off the bat, just has size that you cannot teach. 6'8", 345. I mean, you're not finding that many places. I feel like some guys just have things that you could not teach, and kind of Mekhi Becton in a way felt the same way. Now, the one concern I have, and there's some technical concerns with Evan Neal. Sometimes he's off balance and leans forward, but that stuff's fixable in my opinion. You get the right coach around him, he'll be fine. But the one thing I'm concerned about with Evan Neal is when you're that big, how injury prone are you throughout your career? So far he's been fine. He has not really missed any time in his career so far. So I'm not worried now, but when you're 345 pounds and that tall, you wonder, can he hold up throughout his entire NFL career? But outside of that, I really don't have that many concerns when it comes to him. He just is physically dominant. He gets out of his stance so quickly. He's good in pass protection, in my opinion. The guy's played 3 different positions at Alabama, very high level, of course. So I think he's been through everything at this point, and the fact that the Giants desperately needed a right tackle, I mean, if he wasn't here, I mean, who would be the right tackle next year? Matt Gano, you have Matt Peretz on a torn ACL, so that's not going to happen. So, yeah, Corey Cunningham, guys like that, you needed somebody. I think we knew as Giants fans, if they keep these 2 picks at 5 and 7, one of these picks is going to be a tackle, and to have it be Evan Neal who falls to 7 is great in my opinion. So what makes Evan Neal so likable is just how big he is, how strong he is, and how explosive he is. He's another guy that I watched his interviews in the past, and I came away impressed with him as a person. He looked like another intelligent guy, so I like seeing that, of course. I don't think that stuff matters as much. At the end of the day, the thing you really care about with offensive linemen is just beating the guy in front of you, but still, I mean, to have Evan Neal come off as a very personable guy, that's a nice thing as well. Now, as I said, the feet, the balance, that stuff may need some work with Evan Neal, but with the new offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson, hopefully they can fix that, and learning from Andrew Thomas, who's really coming to his own here, that should help as well. So I talked about Azeez Ojulari and Kayvon Thibodeaux playing together for 5+ years. Hopefully the Giants have 2 tackles that can play together for a long time with Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal. And I tweeted this out today, and I've said this in the past. I've said this back in 2019, probably 2020, and I've believed this for a while. I'm a person that, I believe tackles are more important than the interior guys. You can look at how tackles are paid as compared to those guys, and it holds up to be true. But you look at teams that have 2 good tackles, and I feel like most times those teams have good offensive lines as a whole. So you look at teams that have had a good left tackle and a good right tackle at the same time, and how good were their offensive lines. Look at the Eagles back in their Super Bowl year. Jason Peters left tackle, Lane Johnson right tackle. The whole offensive line was great. Look at the Packers during the last, mid-2010s era with David Bakhtiari. Then you had Brian Bulaga. They always had a good offensive line. You look at the Saints the past few years with Teron Armstead left tackle, Ryan Ramczyk right tackle. They always had a good offensive line the past few years. You go just up and down the list of teams that have a good left tackle, good right tackle, and most times the entire offensive line is going to work out. So if you can get those guys at the premium tackle positions playing at a high level, assuming Andrew Thomas still plays at a high level and stays healthy, assuming that Evan Neal is the same way, can stay healthy and play at a high level, this Giants offensive line, it may not be top 5 in the NFL, but it's going to be pretty good. Like, it's not going to hold the Giants back anymore. We're not going to be sitting here and making the same excuses of, it's the offensive line's fault, and have that same, go-to excuse as Giants fans for the past decade. Like, no, if Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas hold up for most of the season and just play well, they should be fine. You have Mark Glanowski. You're going to have a veteran center, whether it's, Garcia or whether it is Feliciano. We'll find out who the left guard is. They could pick a guy in day 2. We'll find out. But, yeah, I just think that Giants offensive line, it's close. It's not a finished product yet, but it's close to getting there, and I'm excited about it. So as long as you have your 2 tackles for the future, you're in a very good spot. And as long as Evan Neal works out, the Giants are in a very good spot. So I came away from this first round just very satisfied. Of course, those thoughts started creeping in my head. Do they trade up back in the first round? Do they take Malik Willis? Do they do something crazy like that? And we can touch on that real quick and talk about some of the guys left for the early second round. The Giants pick number 36 tomorrow, so that'll be an early pick. But with the Malik Willis situation, am I surprised he made it out the first round? Absolutely. I think there's a chance he could be there at 36 tomorrow, but if you're the Lions, I think the Lions pick 33rd. It makes all the sense in the world to take him there. I don't know why you'd pass on him. So he might just go with the first pick in the second round tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, if you're the Giants and you're sitting at 36 and Malik Willis is still there, that, in my opinion, is a risk worth taking. I know some people may disagree with that, but I just feel like at that point the value is too good. You just can't pass on certain guys at certain points, and I don't know, it just would not make sense to me. I think the Eagles made the same type of case when Jalen Hurts fell to the second round, and the value was just too good. So I think sometimes you go into a draft and you don't have the vision of taking a quarterback early, but if one happens to fall that far, Malik Willis could have went second overall tonight, and I don't think many people would have been that shocked by it. So to have him fall possibly to 36 and have the Giants take him there, I think at that point the value is too good. So I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm not saying I would do it, but I can definitely see it. If they wanted to do it, I definitely can understand where they're coming from. Looking at some of the guys that are left for tomorrow, though, he's looking at Kobe Dean, the athletic linebacker out of Georgia. The Giants can definitely use that type of guy. Be good in coverage, sideline to sideline type of guy, play next to Blake Martinez. Andrew Booth Jr. out of Clemson, just a good all-around cornerback. I don't really have many bad things to say about him. I feel like he has good size as well. The Giants could use a corner, as we know, so keep an eye on him. David Ajabo, do they want to go that route, take an injured guy who's coming off the recent Achilles injury, but the Giants are not supposed to be competitive next year anyway, so maybe you get some decent value there. Sky Moore, good slot receiver. Travis Jones would be a great nose tackle in my opinion. So you're going to have guys here at 36. Jalen Petre, a guy that I really like in the secondary from Baylor. So, Josh Pascal is a really good athlete, edge rusher, but we took one tonight. I like Drake Jackson, edge rusher, but we'll see. There's definitely going to be some very good names, of course, at 36, and the Giants were able to take Xavier McKinney at 36 a couple years ago, and so far that pick has worked out very well. So we're going to find out what happens there. Leave in the comments, how do you feel about tonight? Who do you want for tomorrow? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the draft as much as I did, because I came away very happy with the first day. And if Joe Schoen keeps this up, it might be an excellent draft for the Giants, hopefully. So that's going to do it, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.